I did write a book because I had a wayward childhood. I had a problematic childhood, and I wrote a book about it, a childhood memoir of my problems growing up. My name's Moshe Kasher. It's called Kasher in the Rye, and some people laughing because there's a similarly titled book. Is that right? Catcher in the Rye, is that the way? Yeah, it's a weird coincidence. I found out about it after I wrote my book. I checked it out. I read The Catcher in the Rye. Not impressed. Mine's a fucking banger, so check it out. It's a real good one. But it is about the problems that I had growing up. I had problems growing up, and this is a story about some of those problems. There's some contextual information that you need to know in order to understand where this story goes. First of all, I have two deaf parents. Both my parents are deaf. They're super into hip-hop, both of them. It's true. I'm from Oakland, California. That's where I'm from. I like making that little gunshot noise, but like due to the effects of gentrification, it's making decreasing sense every time I do it. Now it's more like, I'm from Oakland, y'all. Latte? So I'm Oakland, California kid, two deaf parents, raised on welfare, getting into so much trouble when I was a kid. I got arrested 1,000 times, in and out of rehab 5 times by the time I turned 16, been in mental hospitals. I've been through a lot, and I rolled with a crew of other kids that had been through a lot. Other white kids that, you know those white kids, right? I see a couple of you here right now. You know the white kids that get on the bus and you're like, oh fuck, these fucking white kids are here? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, to put it into context, we were in a gang called the PAG, the Pure Adrenaline Gangsters. What's up, y'all? You guys confused? I get that. I know how I look physically now. I know that my look belies the gangster I once was. I know that I look like the only gang I've ever belonged to is the 1920s gay French naval submarine gang. But at that time, I was thugging, right? So I got two deaf parents. I'm a fucking thug, right? Super gangster, Oakland, California. That is the context from which we will spring this story. I'm in so much trouble. I've been arrested so many times that my mother tells me, if you get busted one more time, you are going away for a long time. I'm sending you to a group home, and that's going to be that. That's curtains for you. You're going to get sent away for a long time. And then they were like, also, we're leaving town this weekend, which feels like mixed messages to me. What am I supposed to do? They're leaving the house to me and the other pure adrenaline gangsters. What do? I invite all the gangsters over. I'm like, let's have a party. Mushrooms. Let's do some mushrooms. Does Ari Shafir's crowd like mushrooms? How about 14-year-olds doing mushrooms? How do 14-year-olds do mushrooms? Of course, we do the logical thing. We go to the liquor store, we buy some chili picante flavored corn nuts to break the mushrooms up into so that we can mask the taste. It's a very classy experience. There's no better way to start a psychedelic trip than with chili picante flavored corn nuts. That's how the ancient Mayans used to do it. So we're downing handfuls of chili picante flavored psychedelia, and then somebody else busts out. My friend David's like, yo, I got some Ritalin, because it was 91, everybody had ADD, everybody was on Ritalin, and Ritalin is speed, which is awesome. So we crush up the Ritalin real quick, and we're snorting Ritalin and eating mushrooms, and then we decide, you know what, let's just steal the car. Let's steal the car. And I'm like, this is a great idea. My parents had this 1970/1971 bug. It was not 2 cars, it was 1 car that had been sort of Frankensteinianly slopped together to create a horrible eyesore of unparalleled proportions. It had no floorboard, so you could start it kind of Flintstone style. It had a button in the back that was the ignition for some reason. It was so ugly, I guess my parents left it there assuming that it would be too ugly for me to dare to enter, but little did they know the mushrooms I would be eating would make that car look exactly like a transformer. And being a 14-year-old boy, I loved Transformers. So we did that. We all jumped into the car. I pressed the button and we drive off. We're 14, no licenses. Who cares? Gangsta! So we drive to this one liquor store in town that will sell kids our age alcohol. And we go in and we buy a bunch of 40s. All of us, the mushrooms are starting to kick in. The Ritalin is speeding me up, speed and mushrooms to make the cartoons play faster, right? So we go into the liquor store, we buy a bunch of 40s, St. Ides, purely, I don't fuck with Mickey's, that's white boy alcohol, I ain't about that life. All right, so we get all the 40s, we jump back in the car, we drive to the weed spot, we buy a 20 bag, and we jump back in the car, and we drive up into the hills of Oakland to this place called Tilden Park. It's like a wilderness reserve in the hills of Oakland. People don't know this about Oakland. We have like redwood trees. We have forests in Oakland. They forests, but they gangsta at the same time, right? So we're driving through the foggy night up in Tilden Park, and we're looking for a spot. You know what I mean? We're looking for a spot. You remember, you ever do that? Like you got some weed, you want to smoke it, you got to find that spot. We got to find a spot, chill out, park at the spot, look out over the city. We're going to get to our spot. We're going to darkness in the spot. We'll pull over. We'll suck each other's dicks real quick at the spot. So we're driving, looking for the spot, and we pull up onto this earthen hill for some reason to turn. Maybe the spot's up here. The car literally starts to tip over backwards. We all jump out of the car like this insane sort of Chinese fire drill, trying to coax the car back in onto the ground. Let me explain who's in the car. There's so many people in the car. There is me, and then there is my friend Joey, and then there's my friend David, and then there's my friend Donnie, and then sitting in the back seat of the car is my friend, in quotation marks, Carlos. Now, Carlos was so impressive that we had him in our friendship circle. Carlos was a huge gangbanger from East Oakland. He was from X3, the world's most dangerous gang. X3 hanging out with us, the world's least dangerous gang. Carlos was a gangbanger, and we loved having him around because he legitimized us. You know what I mean? He was all in blue, and like every time he'd be like, "Orale," we'd be like, "Us, thank you," or whatever. We loved it so much that we were willing to ignore the fact that Carlos was ridiculously addicted to methamphetamine and very mentally ill. So that's the squad we got in the car that night. We got the squad, and Carlos is in the back, and the car almost tips over backwards. We say, you know what? We're a little scared. Let's forget about the spot. We're a little high right now. I feel like God is touching me. Let's not look for the spot. Let's pull over right where we are and smoke the weed right here. So I do. I pick up my pipe, and I flick the lighter. I can see the flame pop out. And then all of a sudden, the lighter becomes more light than I could have anticipated. There's light in front of me. There's light behind me. I'm fully illuminated by light, and I'm like, these mushrooms are awesome. Nope, the cops are behind me, for sure. The cops are behind me. I'm in a floodlight. This doesn't make sense. I'm like, oh no, if I get busted one more time, I'm going away forever. What do? I gotta get rid of the evidence. So I'm in a spotlight, but I figure this will do the trick. I roll down the window, put my hand out the window, drop the weed in full illumination. That takes care of that. I hear a door shut behind me. I hear cop footprints get up. And then this cop, who's doing the closest thing to a joke a police officer can do, leans down, picks up the pipe, hands it back to me, and says, "Here you are. I think you dropped this." And I'm like, whoa, what is this? He's like, "Oh, you mean the weed pipe that I just saw you smoking from and also throwing on the ground in the spotlight? Is that what you're asking me about? You want to maybe tell me what you kids are doing out here?" And I'm trying to think of a story, and I'm on speed, so I'm in good shape for a story, right? I'm like, "Okay, officer, here's the thing. I am a bit of a mechanic. I'm a teenage mechanic, kind of a prodigy. Anyway, I put together these two cars, a 1970 and 1971 Bug, out of two disparate cars. Doesn't have any floorboards right now, but it's really in good shape. Anyway, I got an ignition button, which is really awesome. And I just thought, just like a boat needs a maiden voyage, so too does a car. So we all jumped in the car. We went for a little drive. We almost tipped over. But anyway, I think it's time for me to go home, though, now that I see you here. So I want to thank you for pulling us over. We're going to get going right now." And I'm thinking, I am doing great right now. When behind me, Carlos, the gangster, the thuggest of the thugs, leans forward, looks at the cop, and goes, "He's lying to you, officer. Yeah, he just stole his parents' shit." We're like, what the fuck? Carlos, you were supposed to be gangster. Even the cop is looking at Carlos like, dude, snitches get stitches. So he says, "Why don't you tell me what's really going on?" And I say, "Well, officer, God damn it. I'm sorry about the swearing. I swear a lot because my mom can't hear me." "Yeah, that's right. My parents, they're both deaf, both of them deaf. It's hard having deaf parents, I'll tell you what, but I get into a lot of trouble, and I'm in a lot of trouble right now. And my mom said if I get busted one more time, I'm going to a group home, but you know what? It's up to you." "It's your call, officer." You can bust me right now. I can get sent off to a group home, slip into the cracks in the system, slip into crack, catch AIDS, and die. Or you could let me call my sister. She could come out here, pick up the car, take it home. If you let me call my sister, it's up to you. And the cop goes, okay, let's call your sister. This is amazing, man. This is incredible. I'm gonna get out, I just gotta call my sister. I do not have a sister. Bit of an issue. I've got a half-sister, she's 8 years old and lives in Brooklyn at the time, so I don't think she can make the trip, but I'm not gonna let that kind of detail stop me. I say, great, officer, tell me what to do. He says, start the car, follow me down the road, and we'll get to a payphone. Payphones were a technology that existed back then. And we'll call your sister. And so we start the car up and we start to drive. Let me put this in context for everyone. A licensed officer of the law allowed a car full of drunk, high, unlicensed children in a stolen vehicle to follow him down a foggy road in the middle of the night. How much did this guy hate paperwork? So I follow him down. I get out of the car. I see the payphone. And I'm like, I don't know what to do, but God, if you're out there, maybe twice in one night isn't too much to hope for. I pick up the phone, I put a quarter in, I call a number of this local girl that I know, this chick from around the way, and I can hear it ringing. Ring, ring, click. A sleepy voice, an angel. I'm like, sister! Sister, 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 oh, the girl with whom I share parents. It is I, your brother. Anyway, listen, I need you to come. I'm in a little bit of a situation right now. I need you to come pick up the car and take the car home. Pick the car up, take the car home. Do you understand? I can hear the gears turning in her mind. And she goes, is there a fucking cop there right now? Are you calling me to get out of trouble? I'm like, totally, sis. She's like, you better fucking get me high if I come out there. I'm like, I would like nothing better. Right on, officer. She says she's coming. She says she's coming. I turn to the guys in the car behind me. I'm like, she's coming. The guys are like, yeah! Like we won the fucking lottery. 20 minutes later, this girl pulls up in her boyfriend's car. She gets out. She walks right up to the officer. She says, oh, I'm so sorry about this, officer. I was fast asleep and I didn't even hear the boys take the car out. The boys? She's just like riffing at this point. She should have won an Academy Award for such a performance. And the cop's like, no problem. And he looks at her, little inquisitively, looks at me, looks at her blonde hair, blue eyes, Hitler's wet dream.